Welcome to Good Morning Akron, everyone. I'm your host, Sarah, and today I get to talk with Casey Hughes. Casey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, of course. And Casey is the pastor at Goss Memorial Church, which is a historic church in Kenmore, Ohio.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, I want you to just introduce yourself. Tell people who you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
It's so cool to be up here with you, and I know we have a relationship going back with our two churches close
Yes.
by in Akron. My name's Casey Hughes, and I'm not a native Akronite. I'm
Right.
from
So where are you
Connecticut.
from? Yep,
From
Connecticut. That's right.
Originally, and I moved here. We moved to Ohio in 2018.
Okay.
In April of that year for a job opportunity, and thought we'd be in Ohio for a couple of years.
And then probably go back.
Yep, and then we're still here now, so we've fallen in love with the area.
Yeah.
And so we came here because of my career in medical devices, but since then, really, we've gotten involved in the community in Akron.
Yeah,
and also
absolutely.
ministry as well. So my wife came as well. My wife, Nicole, was actually the principal of Bookdale after we moved here
Yeah,
for
that's
about
right.
4 years.
Okay.
So she's been in education. I've been in healthcare, and then now we're doing ministry together. So we have 3 kids.
Oh, awesome. Okay. How old are your kids?
2, 5, and 7.
Okay,
so
so
you can imagine.
you're busy. You're in the weeds for
in the
sure.
weeds, yeah. And as soon as one gets off diapers, the next goes on. So I've
Right.
been changing diapers for 7 straight years.
So long,
Yeah.
but you're probably almost on your way out, maybe like another year. That's what I'm hoping for too, because I have a 2-year-old as
You
well.
have a 2-year-old too?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're almost out. We're actually trying to train the last one. His name is Brock.
Okay.
And Brock's coming along. He actually went to the bathroom for the first time on the toilet. Sorry, TMI.
There you
Last
go.
night. That it
There
just
you
happened.
go.
I'm not
Well,
saying that.
I'm really happy for you because I know
you.
all the parents watching out there right now that have 2-year-olds, they get it and they are with us in the weeds right now.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
Its struggle is real.
Yeah.
So we love that you've fallen in love with Akron and the surrounding areas. What is your favorite thing about Akron?
So one thing I really enjoy about Akron is obviously the history. And so I had no idea that Akron was the rubber capital of the world.
Yeah,
at
I
one
mean,
point.
coming from Connecticut, you probably wouldn't until you got here.
Yeah, so one thing we did recently is my son just did indoor soccer. It's called futsal.
Okay.
And we did it down at the Goodyear Heights facility. So the former Goodyear facility that they've converted into a gymnasium. And so
Yes.
we got to go there every week and enjoy that facility.
That's so much
yeah,
fun.
The history's awesome.
The history is awesome, and there is so much history here. I know there are people working on a lot of different things. We have the rubber worker statue that just came
That's
to
right.
downtown Akron a couple years ago, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of history,
Yeah.
you are the pastor of a church that has a 120-year history in Akron, in Kenmore. And so tell us a little bit about Goss.
Sure. So Goss Memorial, as you said, 120 years this year. So it's our 120-year anniversary, which is huge.
It is.
We were founded in 1904. And in fact, there were a few elders who founded the church. And the story goes that the church was founded and there was a benefactor, somebody who gave money originally for the building of the church. And that person's name was a Dr. Goss. And
Okay, so that's
one
where the
of-
name came from.
Right. So one of the terms was that his name would be on the church. And so we've been Goss Memorial Church since then. Now we refer to ourselves as Goss Church. And so in Marshallville is where they built the building. And apparently they had a horse-drawn carriage that pulled the building from Marshallville 20 minutes or even more back then towards where we're at today.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So they built it as a
structure.
whole, or they built like parts of it and then put it together
Well,
on
so
site.
they built the full structure. So if you go to us now, we're on 11th Street and Florida Avenue. So the original structure, the original building, is much smaller, and it's on 9th Street in Florida. And it actually, if you go back to that building on 9th Street in Florida, you'll see the original base, which is really old. I believe there's a church there now.
Okay.
So we moved from there in the 1920s into our current building.
Right.
And so that's a much bigger Gothic.
So it was a much smaller building
Much
that they
smaller.
moved. But how
Yeah.
interesting! I
It's-
kind of want to go see where that was at. That's
Yeah,
so
it's
interesting.
amazing. And one of the part of the heritage of our church is that we've been independent for quite some time. And so we had a denominational affiliation up until the 1950s. But since then, we've been an independent church. And it's been amazing. I've been only here for the last year. But just to see the church survive through each period and each age, over 120 years, has been amazing just to see that.
It is amazing, and that's a feat in and of itself, because as you know, as you mentioned earlier, my husband is also a pastor in ministry right down the street from where Goss is at, and it is hard. It's hard to survive through all those seasons. You just survived through COVID.
That's right.
And then came after that. So tell me what you guys are doing right now in the community. I know you're involved and want to get even more involved in the community. So,
So we've been in Kenmore section of Akron for a long time, as we just said. And so one of the things we do on Wednesdays, we disciple and work with the children. So we have a children's night on Wednesday night, starts at 6:30 and goes till 8. We get about 40 to 50 kids that night. And we use the gymnasium in our facility. We do cool things like check out Bible stories. And then we also affiliate with other groups where some of the older kids, we work on things such as Boy Scout things.
Oh,
like
cool.
Sometimes it's sharpening knives, sometimes it's axe throwing. And then the older girls, we hang out with them too. So we have a structure and a program for each age group, including for my youngest. My second youngest, my daughter, 5.
Okay.
She does arts and crafts.
Oh, I love that.
That's one of the things we do in the community, but we also partner with other organizations. So Project Shine, for example, they do community work every year. We're hosting Project Shine this year.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is excellent. And then there's other programs as well that we allow them to use our facility also.
Great.
On a regular basis. But we're looking to even broaden that. So if there's any organizations out there that want to partner with us in our location, we have a huge facility. We'd love to do that.
I love that because I feel like often what happens in the church, and I know you've probably seen this some, is that you want to hold tight to what you have. And I love that you want to have an open hand and say, hey, we want the community to come in. We want you to use our space. We want to work with you. We want to partner with you and do good things for the Kenmore community and beyond. So
that's right. The church is supposed to be integrated into the community fully. And as you kind of referenced, one of the issues is the church can be kind of insulated.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Bible, it flies in the face of that kind of thinking. The church should be integrated into the community, and we should be outward facing and not inward facing. And so I think that's a challenge today.
It is a
Obviously,
challenge,
in
sure.
a different age where many people drive past churches and they don't even notice the church is there. How do we stay relevant? How do we reach the community? Because that's what God sent us to do, and that's what we believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what else is going on there? You have your Wednesday nights.
Yep.
So people can people come and be involved in that if they are not interested in joining on Sundays? Is that something that they could come and do Wednesday nights by itself if they're just thinking, hey, maybe my kids want to get involved?
Right. Yes, that's a great question. So what really has taken me to a different level of ministry in this season is the last church we were a member of was Grace Church Medina East Campus on 18. And I had always been a churchgoer for my entire life.
Sure.
But what got me involved in ministry was the community aspect at that church. And that's life groups. Some church call them small groups. And so at Goss right now, we're thinking about starting a small group where people can just come in and hang out. And you don't have to be a Bible expert. You don't have to know about the Bible at all. If you just want community, hang out, you get snacks. We do a little Bible study, and then we just catch up with each other. And what we do is we say we share life together, because that's what we see in the Bible as well. So we're thinking about launching a life group this first quarter on Fridays. So more to come on that, and that'll be shared on our website.
Great.
When we start it. So that's kind of around the corner. Other than that, church is at 10:30 on Sundays.
All right.
So kind of the traditional church service where we sing, we worship, and we get the word together. So I preach typically, and then we let you out. So it's not it's not that long. It's probably about an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you already have some things going on in the community.
Yeah.
You're looking for more. I love that you just want to be a part of the community.
Absolutely.
And growing what's going on in Kenmore. Because
Yeah,
Kenmore
Kenmore
has a lot of people who are really trying to work to make it a good place.
That's
and
right.
So thankful that you're there.
The reason I'm in Kenmore is so there's churches all over. And the church we went to was in a suburban area. We live in Cobley. But originally, 2022, I was traveling, going to different churches and preaching and getting some experience that way. And I came to Goss the first time. And the first thing that struck me was just how historic the building was. You know, you have the stained glass and all those things that historic buildings have, and high ceilings. Really cool. You're in awe of that. But the other thing is when I drove around Kenmore the day before I went, just so I was familiar with where Goss was at. And I got this strong sense of nostalgia, because I grew up in a neighborhood in Connecticut very much like Kenmore, almost exactly like it. The houses in Kenmore look like the house I grew up in. The streets look like the streets I grew up in.
Yeah.
And same thing with the sidewalks too. So that was my connection, as I felt, even though I live in a suburban area now, I felt called to urban community work.
Yeah.
Because that's the place I come from.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's been very much full circle.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing in Kenmore. Thank you for being on the show today.
Of course.
Share with people how they can find you. You can share Goss's social media and website if you want to share your own so that people can connect with you. Go ahead.
Sure. So gosschurch.org, you can find us there. We are revamping the website, so please bear with us. And then additionally, you can find us on our Facebook page. So our Facebook page, Goss Church on Facebook, is really where we have the latest and greatest. So you'll see kind of the program for the upcoming Sundays. And if there are events like the Wednesday event we have with the children, you'll find it there. as well on Facebook,
Great.
Goss
All
Memorial
right.
Church.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys so much for watching here on Good Morning Akron. We had a great time with Casey Hughes, pastor from Goss Memorial. Make sure that you stay tuned because we have got great stuff coming up next.